Jai
Good
Guruji.
evening. Jai Guruji. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So we are all tuned in, and I will start with chapter 23. I received my university degree. You ignore your textbook assignments in philosophy. No doubt you are depending on an unlaborious intuition to get you through the examinations. But unless you apply yourself in a more scholarly manner, I shall see to it that you don't pass this course. Professor D.C. Ghoshal of Sarampur College was addressing me sternly. If I failed to pass his final written classroom test, I would be ineligible to take the conclusive examinations. These are formulated by the Faculty of Calcutta University, which numbers Sarampur College among its affiliated branches. A student in Indian universities who is unsuccessful in one subject in the AB finals must be examined anew in all his subjects the following year. My instructors at Sarampur College usually treated me with kindness, not untinged by an amused tolerance. Mukunda is a bit overdrunk with religion. Thus summing me up, they tactfully spared me the embarrassment of answering classroom questions. They trusted the final written test to eliminate me from the list of AB candidates. The judgment passed by my fellow students was expressed in their nickname for me, Mad Monk. I took up an ingenious step to nullify Professor Ghoshal's threat to me of failure in philosophy. When the results of the final test were about to be publicly announced, I asked a classmate to accompany me to the professor's study. Come along, I want a witness, I told my companion. I shall be very much disappointed if I have not succeeded in outwitting the instructor. Professor Ghoshal shook his head after I'd inquired what rating he had given my paper. You are not among those who have passed, he said in triumph. He hunted through a large pile on his desk. Your paper isn't here at all. You have failed. In any case, through non-appearance at the examination. I chuckled. Sir, I was there. May I look through the stack myself? The professor, nonplussed, gave his permission. I quickly found my paper, where I had carefully omitted any identification mark except my roll call number. Unwarned by the red flag of my name, the instructor had given a high rating to my answers, even though they were unembellished by textbook quotations. Seeing through my trick, he now thundered. Sheer brazen luck, he added hopefully. You are sure to fail in the AB finals. For the tests in my other subjects, I received some coaching, particularly from my dear friend and cousin, Prabhas Chandra Ghose, son of my uncle Sarada. I staggered painfully but successfully, with the lowest possible passing marks through all my final tests. Now, after 4 years of college, I was eligible to sit for the AB examinations. Nevertheless, I hardly expected to avail myself of the privilege. The Sarampur College finals were child's play compared to the stiff ones, which would be set by Calcutta University for the AB degree. My almost daily visits to Sri Yukteswar had left me little time to enter the college halls. There it was, my presence rather than my absence, that brought forth ejaculations of amazement from my classmates. My customary routine was to set out on my bicycle about 9:30 in the morning. In one hand, I would carry an offering for my guru, a few flowers from my garden on my Punti boarding house. Greeting me affably, Master would invite me to lunch. I invariably accepted with alacrity, glad to banish the thought of college for the day. After hours with Sri Yukteswar, listening to his incomparable flow of wisdom or helping with ashram duties, I would reluctantly depart around midnight for the Panthi. Occasionally, I stayed all night with my guru, so happily engrossed in his conversation that I scarcely noticed when darkness changed into dawn. One night, about 11 o'clock, as I was putting on my shoes in preparation for the ride to the boarding house, Master questioned me gravely. When do your AB examinations start? 5 days hence, sir. I hope you're in readiness for them. Transfixed with alarm, I held one shoe in the air. Sir, I protested, you know how my days have been passed with you rather than with the professors. How can I enact a farce by appearing for those difficult finals? Shri Yukteswara's eyes were turned piercingly on mine. You must appear. His tone was coldly peremptory. We should not give cause for your father and other relatives to criticize your preference for ashram life. Just promise me that you will be present for the examinations, answer them the best way you can. Uncontrolled, with tears were coursing down my face, I felt that Master's command was unreasonable, and that his interest was, to say the least, belated. I will appear if you wish it, I said amidst sobs, but no time remains for proper preparation. Under my breath, I muttered, I will fill up the sheets with your teachings in answer to the questions. When I entered the hermitage the following day, at my usual hour, I presented my bouquet with a certain mournful solemnity. Shri Yukteswara laughed at my woebegone air. Mukunda, has the Lord ever failed you? At an examination or elsewhere? No, sir, I responded warmly. Grateful memories came in a revivifying flood. Not laziness, but burning zeal for God has prevented you from seeking college honors, my guru said kindly. After a silence, he quoted, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. How beautiful. So Guruji used to say, naam mangloge to baki sab kuch. Naam aur apni achhi zindagi guzarne se aap baki sab cheezein milti hai. But the first and foremost, our priority should always be God, Guruji, the kingdom of Guruji. And it is, like Mukunda preferred to be in his guru's ashram than to be in the university. So it happens with all of us. We prefer to be sitting in a satsang or elsewhere in a social gathering because we know it is just much more fulfilling and much more rewarding than any other space on earth, literally. After silence, he quoted, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. For 1,000 times, I felt my burdens lifted in Master's presence. When we had finished our early lunch, he suggested that I return to the Panthi. Does your friend Ramesh Chandra Dutt still live in your boarding house? Yes, sir. Get in touch with him. The Lord will inspire him to help you with examinations. Very well, sir. But Ramesh is unusually busy. He is the honor man in our class and carries a heavier course than the others. Master waved aside my objections. Ramesh will find time for you. Now go. I bicycled back to the Panthi. The first person I met in the boarding house compound was the scholarly Ramesh. As though his days were quite free, he obligingly agreed to my dividend request. Of course, I am at your service. He spent several hours of that afternoon and of succeeding days in coaching me in various subjects. I believe my questions in English literature will be centered in the route of Childe Harold, he told me. We must get an atlas at once. I hastened to the room of my uncle Sarada and borrowed an atlas. Ramesh marked the European map at the places visited by Byron's romantic traveler. A few classmates had gathered around to listen to the tutoring. Ramesh is advising you wrongly, one of them commented to me at the end of the session. Usually only 50% of the questions are about the books. The other half will involve the author's lives. When I sat for the examination in English literature the following day, my first glance at the questions caused tears of gratitude to pour forth, wetting my paper. The classroom monitor came to my desk and made a sympathetic inquiry. My guru foretold that Ramesh would help me, I explained. Look, the very questions dictated to me by Ramesh are here on the examination sheet. Fortunately for me, there are very few questions this year on English authors whose lives are wrapped in deep mystery so far as I am concerned. My boarding house was in an uproar when I returned. The boys who had been ridiculing Ramesh's method of coaching looked at me in awe, almost deafening me with congratulations. During the week of the examinations, I spent many hours with Ramesh, who formulated questions that he thought were likely to be set by the professors. Day by day, Ramesh's questions appeared in almost the same form on the examination sheets. The news was widely circulated in the college that something resembling a miracle was occurring and that success seemed probable for the absent-minded. Mad monk. I made no attempt to alter the question. I made no attempt to hide the facts of the case. The local professors were powerless to alter the questions, which had been arranged by Calcutta University. Thinking over the examination in English literature, I realized one morning that I had made a serious error. One section of the questions had been divided into two parts of A or B and C or D. Instead of answering one question from each part, I had carelessly answered both questions in group 1 and had failed to consider anything in group 2. The best mark I could score in that paper would be 33. 3 less than the passing mark of 36. I rushed to master and poured out my troubles. Sir, I have made an unpardonable blunder. I don't deserve the divine blessings through Ramesh. I am quite unworthy. Cheer up, Mukunda. Sri Yukteswar's tones were light and unconcerned. He pointed to the blue vault of the heavens. It is more possible for the sun and moon to interchange their positions in space than it is for you to fail in getting a degree. I left the hermitage in a more tranquil mood, though it seemed mathematically inconceivable that I could pass. I looked once or twice apprehensively into the sky. The Lord of Day appeared to be securely anchored in his customary orbit. As I reached the Panti, I overheard a classmate's remark. I have just learned that this year, for the first time, the requiring passing mark in English literature has been lowered. I entered the boy's room with such speed that he looked up in alarm. I questioned him eagerly. Long-haired monk, he said laughingly. Why this sudden interest in scholastic matters? Why cry in the 11th hour? But it is true that the passing mark has just been lowered to 33 points. A few joyous leaps took me into my own room, where I sank to my knees and praised the mathematical perfections of my divine Father. He made it possible. So again, with a little bit of effort of ours, he makes everything possible. But the efforts have to be made nevertheless, even though they may be small in measure, but efforts nevertheless. Doing our karma is absolutely imperative. We take a few steps and he enables us to take many more because he gives us that strength and he gives us that grace. So it's so wonderful how he makes things happen. Every day I thrilled with the consciousness of a spiritual presence that I clearly felt to be guiding me through Ramesh. A significant incident occurred in connection with examination in Bengali. Ramesh, who had touched little on that subject, called me back one morning as I was leaving the boarding house on my way to the examination hall. There is Ramesh shouting for you, a classmate said to me impatiently. Don't return. We shall be late at the hall. Ignoring the advice, I ran back to the house. The Bengali examination is usually easily passed by our Bengali boys, Ramesh told me. But I have just had a hunch that this year the professors have planned to massacre the students by asking questions from our ancient literature. My friend then briefly outlined 2 stories from the life of Vidyasagar, a renowned philanthropist. I thanked Ramesh and quickly bicycled to the college hall. The examination sheet in Bengali proved to contain 2 parts. The first instruction was, write 2 instances of the charities of Vidyasagar. As I transferred to the paper the law that I had so recently acquired, I whispered a few words of thanksgiving that I had heeded Ramesh's last-minute summons. Had I been ignorant of Vidyasagar's benefactions to mankind, including ultimately myself, I could not have passed the Bengali examination. Failing in one subject, I would have been forced to stand the examination anew in all the subjects. And the following year, such a prospect was understandably abhorrent. The second instruction on the sheet read, write an essay in Bengali on the life of the man who has inspired you. Gentle reader, I need not inform you what man I chose for my theme. As I covered page after page with praise of my guru, I smiled to realize that my muttered prediction was coming true. I will fill up the sheets with your teachings. He had said this earlier, and so it was. He was actually filling up the sheets with his teachings. I had not felt inclined to question Ramesh about my course in philosophy. Trusting my long training under Sri Yukteswara, I have safely discarded the textbook explanations. The highest mark given to any of my papers was the one in philosophy. My score in all the subjects was just barely within the passing mark. It is a pleasure to record that my unselfish friend Ramesh received his own degree, cum laude. Father was wreathed in smiles at my graduation. I hardly thought you would pass, Mukunda, he confessed. You spent so much time with your guru. Master had indeed correctly detected the unspoken criticism of my father. For years, I had been uncertain that I would ever see the day when an AB would follow my name. I seldom used the title without reflecting that it was a divine gift, conferred on me for reasons somewhat obscure. Occasionally, I hear college men remark that very little of their crammed knowledge remained with them after graduation. The admission consoles me a bit for my undoubted academic deficiencies. On the day I received my degree from Calcutta University, I knelt at my guru's feet and thanked him for all the blessings flowing from his life into mine. Get him, Mukunda, he said indulgently. The Lord simply found it more convenient to make you a graduate than to rearrange the sun and moon. So beautifully explained. I remember when we used to go to Guruji back in the day again, and there was this student who was very, very nervous and said, Guruji, kal mera exam hai. He said, padhe hai? He said, thoda sa. He said, theek hai, a pen leke aana kal. The pen Guruji ne bless kar diya. Wo jab pen bless kiya, he came out with flying colors. So this is how Guruji makes a little enormous. So our minuscule efforts become a magnanimous blessing. So chapter 24, I become a monk of the Swami order. Master, my father has been anxious for me to accept an executive position with the Bengal Nagpur Railway, but I have definitely refused it. I added hopefully, sir, will you not make me a monk of the Swami order? I looked pleadingly at my guru. During preceding years, in order to test the depth of my determination, he had refused this same request. Today, however, he smiled graciously. Very well. Tomorrow I will initiate you into Swamiship. He went on quietly. I am happy that you have persisted in your desire to be a monk. Lari Mashe often said, if you don't invite God to be your summer guest, he won't come in the winter of your life. How beautiful. So when we remember Guruji all the time, even in the summer of our life, in our joys, in our celebrations, then he will certainly be there in the winter of our life, in the sadness of our life. So, dukh mein simran to sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi, jo sukh mein simran kare, dukh kahe ko hai. So he's going to be there all the time if we remember him in every season of our lives. Dear Master, I could never falter in my goal to belong to the Swami order like a revered self. I smiled at him with measureless affection. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that is married careth for the things of the Lord, how he may please his wife. I had analyzed the lives of many of my friends who, after undergoing certain spiritual discipline, had then married. Launched on the sea of worldly responsibilities, they had forgotten their resolutions to meditate deeply. This is what happens when we get into the mire of the world, whether it's marriage, children, jobs, our career choices. Then that takes over as our top priority, and we do forget to balance it through meditation, satsangs, simran, seva, as Guruji had taught us. He never said, renounce the world, but he said the middle path is the path of happiness. So the middle path is that कि दुनिया को भी enjoy करो और spiritual aspects को भी follow करो अपनी life में. To allot God a secondary place in life was to me inconceivable. Though he is the sole owner of the cosmos, silently showering us with gifts from life to life, one thing yet remains which he does not own, and which each human heart is empowered to withhold or bestow: man's love. The Creator, in taking infinite pains to shroud with mystery his presence in every atom of creation, could have had but one motive: a sensitive desire that men seek him only through free will. So free will is ours. The choices we make in life is completely ours. I always say this, that we either choose on a single day to either attend a satsang or to attend a social gathering. Whatever is more meaningful and enduring, more lasting, is what we will, what our free will take us to. So with what velvet glove of every humility has he not covered the iron hand of omnipotence? The following day was one of the most memorable in my life. It was a sunny Thursday. I remember in July 1914, a few weeks after my graduation from college, on the inner balcony of his Serampur hermitage, Master dipped a new piece of white silk into a dye of ochre, the traditional color of the Swami order. After the cloth had dried, my Guru draped it around me as a renunciate's robe. Someday you will go to the West, where silk is preferred, he said. As a symbol, I have chosen for you this silk material instead of the customary cotton. In India, where monks embrace the ideal of poverty, a silk-clad Swami is an unusual sight. Many yogis, however, wear garments of silk which preserve certain subtle bodily currents better than cotton. I am averse to ceremonies, Sri Yukteswar remarked. I will make you a Swami in the Bidwat, non-ceremonious manner. The Bibi Disa, or elaborate initiation into Swamiship, includes a fire ceremony during which symbolic funeral rites are performed. The physical body of the disciple is represented as dead, cremated in the flame of wisdom. The newly made Swami is then given a chant such as the Atma is Brahma, or thou art thou, that, or I am he. Sri Yukteswara, however, with his love of simplicity, dispensed with all formal rites and merely asked me to select a new name. So I am he, thou art that. We can only say this when we drop our ego. So instead of I, it becomes all him, Guruji. This book is being read by him. It has been orchestrated by him. Our lives are driven by him. So the I has to dissolve before he takes over our lives completely and starts driving our lives on every path, every road of growth. So I will give you the privilege of choosing it yourself, he said, smiling. Yogananda, I replied after a moment's thought. The name literally means bliss, Ananda. Through divine union, yoga. So it's Yogananda. Be it so. Forsaking your family name of Mukunda Lal Ghosh, henceforth you shall be called Yogananda, of the Giri branch of the Swami order. As I knelt before Sri Yukteswara and for the first time heard him pronounce my new name, my heart overflowed with gratitude. How lovingly and tirelessly had he labeled that the boy Mukunda be someday transformed into the monk Yogananda. I joyfully sang a few verses from the song, the long Sanskrit chant of Lord Shankara. Mind, not intellect, no ego feeling, sky, no earth, no metals am I. I am he, I am he. Blessed spirit, I am he. No birth, no death, no caste have I. Father, mother have I none. I am he, I am he. Blessed spirit, I am he. Beyond the flights of fancy, formless am I, permeating the limbs of all life. Bondage I do not fear. I am free, ever free. I am he, I am he. Blessed spirit, I am he. Every Swami belongs to the ancient monastic order, which was organized in its present form by Shankara. Because it is a formal order with an unbroken line of saintly representatives serving as active leaders, no man can give himself the title of Swami. He rightfully receives it only from another Swami. All monks thus trace their spiritual lineage to one common guru, Lord Shankar. By vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience to the spiritual teacher, many Catholic, Christian monastic orders resemble the order of Swamis. In addition to his new name, usually ending in Ananda, the Swami takes a title which indicates his formal connection with one of the 10 subdivisions of the Swami order. These tsunamis or 10 agnomans include the Giri mountain, to which Sri Yukteswara and hence myself belong. Among the other branches are the Sagar, sea, Bharat, land, Aranya, forest, Puri, tract, Tirtha, place of pilgrimage, and Saraswati, wisdom of nature. The new name received by Swami thus has a twofold significance and represents the attainment of supreme bliss, Ananda, through some divine quality or state, love, wisdom, devotion, service, yoga. So all these are like what Guruji taught us also, we can actually attain this divine quality if we live by these basic virtues of love, gyan, or gyan kahi bhi mil sakta hai, wisdom. He used to say you can just take gyan and you have to be open to learning, open to receiving wisdom. Wisdom doesn't just come in a holy text. It comes through life, through people we don't know, sometimes through children. It comes through observation. So devotion, service, seva, Guruji used to so stress on seva because that is our path to liberation. It elevates us while living in the world and we start to become detached. And we also, I feel through doing seva, we feel that sense of oneness because that's what we are. We are all one and we are all part of the same light. So seva brings us closer to that sentiment of oneness. And through a harmony with nature, as expressed in an infinite vastness of oceans, mountains, skies. So when we connect to nature, we are connecting with God because nature is a signature of God. The ideal of selfless service to all mankind and of renunciation of personal ties and ambitions leads the majority of Swamis to engage actively in humanitarian and educational work in India, or occasionally in foreign lands. Ignoring all prejudices of caste, creed, color, sex, or race, a Swami follows the precepts of human brotherhood. His goal is absolute unity of spirit, imbuing his waking and sleeping consciousness with the thought, I am he. He roams contentedly in the world, but not of it. Thus, only may he justify his title of Swami, one who seeks to achieve union with the Swa or self. It is needless to add that not all formally titled Swamis are equally successful in reaching the high goal. Sri Yukteswara was both a Swami and a Yogi. A Swami, formally a monk by virtue of his connection with the ancient order, is not always a Yogi. Anyone who practices a scientific technique of God contact is a Yogi. He may be either married or unmarried, either a worldly man or one of formal religious ties. A Swami may conceivably follow only the path of dry reasoning, of cold renunciation, but a yogi engages himself in a definite step-by-step procedure by which the body and mind are disciplined. and the soul liberated. Taking nothing for granted on emotional grounds or by faith, a yogi practices a thoroughly tested series of exercises which were first mapped out by the early rishis. Yoga has produced in every age of India men who become truly free, truly yogi Christs. Like any other science, yoga is applicable to people of every clime and time. The theory advanced by certain ignorant writers that yoga is unsuitable for Westerners is wholly false and has lamentably prevented many sincere students from seeking its manifold blessings. Well, thankfully, in today's world, the youth of today are particularly engaging in yoga. And at some point we felt it's become a fad, but now that the people are, accepting its benefits, very profound benefits, people are exercising it regularly and applying it and practicing it as a daily discipline. And that is when, the whole vibration of the world will also change as we embrace the science. And yoga is a method for restraining the natural turbulences of thoughts, which otherwise impartially prevent all men of all lands from glimpsing their true nature of spirit. Yoga cannot know a barrier of east and west any more than does the healing and equitable light of the sun. So the sun indiscriminately spreads its rays on all race of all people from all walks of life. It is indiscriminate, as is yoga. So long as man possesses a mind with its restless thoughts, so long there will be a universal need for yoga or control. The ancient Rishi Patanjali defines yoga as control of the fluctuations of the mind stuff. His very short and masterly expositions, the Yoga Sutras, form one of the 6 systems of Hindu philosophy. In contradistinction to Western philosophies, all 6 Hindu systems embody not only theoretical, but practical teachings. In addition to every conceivable ontological inquiry, the 6 systems formulate 6 definite disciplines aimed at the permanent removal of suffering and the attainment of timeless bliss. The common thread linking all 6 systems is the declaration that no true freedom for man is possible without knowledge of the ultimate reality. The later Upanishads uphold the Yoga Sutras among the 6 systems as containing the most efficacious methods for achieving direct perception of truth. Through the practical techniques of yoga, man leaves behind forever the barren realms of speculation and cognizes and experiences the veritable essence. The yoga system, as outlined by Patanjali, is known as the Eightfold Path. The first steps, yama and niyama, require observance of 10 negative and positive moralities, avoidance of injury to others, of untruthfulness, of stealing, of incontinence, of gift receiving, which brings obligations, and purity of body and mind, contentment, self-discipline, study, and devotion to God. The next steps are asana, right posture. The spinal column must be held straight and the body firm in a comfortable position for meditation. Pranayam, control of prana, subtle life currents, and pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses from external objects. It's very strange that, today we were over lunch in Goa, we were discussing nothing but yoga, and now this chapter comes along, which talks only about yoga. So it's quite amazing how it all comes in front. The last steps of forms of yoga proper. Dharana, concentration, holding the mind to one thought, dhyan, meditation, and samadhi, superconscious perception. This is the eightfold path of yoga, which leads to the final goal of absoluteness, kevalya, a term which might be more comprehensibly put as realization of the truth beyond an intellectual apprehension. Which is greater, one may ask, a Swami or a yogi? If and when final oneness with God is achieved, the distinctions of the various paths disappear. The Bhagavad Gita, however, points out that the methods of yoga are all embracive. Its techniques are not meant only for certain types and temperaments, such as those who incline toward the monastic life. Yoga requires no formal allegiance because the yogic science satisfies the universal need. It has a natural universal applicability. A true yogi may remain dutifully in the world. There he is like butter on water, and not like the easily diluted milk of unchurned and undisciplined humanity. To fulfill one's earthly responsibilities is indeed the higher path, provided the yogi, maintaining a mental uninvolvement, will, with egotistical desires, plays his part as a willing instrument of God. There are a number of great souls living in America or European or other non-Hindu bodies today, who, though they may never have heard the words yogi and swami, are yet true examples of those terms. Through their disinterested service to mankind, or through their mastery over passions and thoughts, or through their single-hearted love of God, or through their great powers of concentration, they are, in a sense, yogis. They have set themselves a goal of yoga self-control. These men could rise to even greater heights if they were taught the definite science of yoga, which makes possible a more conscious direction of one's mind and life. Yoga has been superficially misunderstood by certain Western writers, but its critics have never been its practitioners. Among many thoughtful tributes to yoga may be mentioned one by Dr. C.G. Jung, the famous Swiss psychologist. Dr. Jung. When a religious method recommends itself as scientific, it can be certain of its public in the West. Yoga fulfills this expectation. Dr. Jung writes, quite apart from the charm of the new and the fascination of the half-understood, there is good cause for yoga to have many adherents. It offers the possibility of controllable experience and thus satisfies the scientific need of facts. And besides this, by reason of its breadth and depth, its depth, its venerable age, its doctrine and method, which include every phase of life, it promises undreamed of possibilities. Every religious or philosophical practice means, every religious or philosophical practice means a psychological discipline. That is, a method of mental hygiene. The manifold, purely bodily procedures of yoga also mean physiological hygiene, which is superior to ordinary gymnastics and breathing exercises, inasmuch as it is not merely mechanistic and scientific, but also philosophical in its training of the parts of the body. It unites with the whole of the spirit, as it is quite clear, for instance, in the pranayama exercises where prana is both the breath and the universal dynamics of the cosmos. When the thing which the individual is doing is also a cosmic event, the effect experienced in the body, the innervation, unites with the emotion of the spirit, the universal idea, and out of this there develops a lively unity which no technique, however scientific, can produce. Yoga practice is unthinkable and would also be ineffectual without the concepts on which yoga is based. It combines the bodily and the spiritual with each other in an extraordinary, complete way. In the East, where these ideas and practices have developed, and where for several thousand years an unbroken tradition has created the necessary spiritual foundations, yoga is, as I can readily believe, the perfect and appropriate method of fusing body and mind together so that they form a unity, which is scarcely to be questioned. Excuse me, we're on the last paragraph. This unity creates a psychological disposition which makes possible intuitions that transcend consciousness. The Western day is indeed nearing, when the inner science of self-control will be found as necessary as the outer conquest of nature. This new atomic age will see men's minds sobered and broadened by the now scientifically indisputable truth that matter is in reality a concentrate of energy. Finer forces of the human mind can and must liberate energies greater than those within stones and metals, lest the material atomic giant newly unleashed turn on the world in mindless destruction. We're going to leave it there. But what I was about to say is that by going to Guruji regularly and really listening to the Shabad Gurbani, I also feel there's a lot of inner purification that happens, and it enables us to increase our concentration level. And we feel energized and our vibration does lift. Sorry, I'm checking the time. We're actually early. So do I have another chapter or everybody's exhausted? Because it was a lengthy chapter. But we are only on 5:10. So please give me a heads up if you would like me to read one more. It's a 4-page chapter.
Okay, Auntie, we can continue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So brother Ananta and sister Nalini. Ananta cannot live the sands of his karma for his life. The sands of his karma for his life have run out. These inexorable words reached my inner consciousness as I sat one morning in deep meditation. Shortly after I had entered the Swami order, I paid a visit to my birthplace, Gorakhpur, as a guest of my elder brother Ananta. A sudden illness confined him to his bed. I nursed him lovingly. The solemn inward pronunciation filled me with grief. I felt that I could not bear to remain longer in Gorakhpur, only to see my brother removed from before my helpless gaze. Amidst uncomprehending criticism from my relatives, I left India on the first available boat. It cruised along Burma and the China Sea to Japan. I disembarked at Kobe, where I spent only a few days. My heart was too heavy for sightseeing. On the return trip to India, the boat touched at Shanghai. There, Dr. Misra, the ship's physician, guided me to several curio shops where I selected various presents for Sri Yukteswara and his family and friends, and my family and friends. For Ananta, I purchased a large carved bamboo piece. No sooner had the Chinese salesman handed me the bamboo souvenir than I dropped it on the floor, crying out, "I have bought this for my dear dead brother." A clear realization has swept over me that his soul was just being freed in the infinite. The souvenir was sharply and symbolically cracked by its fall. Amid sobs, I wrote on the bamboo surface, "For my beloved Ananta, now gone." My companion, the doctor, was observing these proceedings with a sardonic smile. "Save your tears," he remarked. "Why shed them until you are sure he is dead?" When our boat reached Calcutta, Dr. Misra again accompanied me. My youngest brother, Vishnu, was waiting to greet me on the dock. "I know Ananta has departed this life," I said to Vishnu, before he had time to speak. "Please tell me, and the doctor here, when Ananta died." Vishnu named the date, which was the very day that I had bought the souvenirs in Shanghai. "Look here," Dr. Misra ejaculated. "Don't let any word of this get around. The professors will be adding a year's study of mental telepathy to the medical course, which is already long enough." Father embraced me warmly as I entered our Gurpur road home. "You have come," he said tenderly. 2 large tears dropped from his eyes. Ordinarily undemonstrative, he had never before shown me these signs of affection. Outwardly the grey father, inwardly he possessed the melting heart of a mother. In all his dealings with the family, his dual parental role was distinctly manifest. Soon after Ananta's passing, my younger sister Nalini was brought back from death's door by a divine healing. Before relating the story, I will refer to a few phases of her earlier life. The childhood relation between Nalini and myself had not been of the happiest nature. I was very thin. She was thinner still. Through an unconscious motive or complex, which psychiatrists will have no difficulty in identifying, I often used to tease my sister about her cadaverous appearance. Her retorts were equally permeated with the callous frankness of extreme youth. Sometimes mother intervened, ending the childish quarrels temporarily by a gentle box on my ear as the elder heir. Time passed. Nalini was betrothed to a young Calcutta physician, Panchonan Bose. He received a generous dowry from father, presumably, as I remarked to sister, to compensate the bridegroom-to-be for his fate in allying himself with a human being pole. Elaborate marriage rites were celebrated in due time. On the wedding night, I joined the large and jovial group of relatives in the living room of our Calcutta home. The bridegroom was leaning on an immense gold brocaded pillow with Nalini at his side. A gorgeous purple silk sari could not, alas, wholly hide her angularity. I sheltered myself behind the pillow of my new brother-in-law and grinned at him in friendly fashion. He had never seen Nalini until the day of the nuptial ceremony, when he finally learned that he was getting in the matrimonial lottery. Feeling my sympathy, Dr. Bose pointed unobtrusively to Nalini and whispered in my ear, "Say, what's this?" "Why, doctor," I replied. "It is a skeleton for your observation." Convulsed with mirth, my brother-in-law and I were hard put to it to maintain the proper decorum before our assembled relatives. As the years went on, Dr. Bose endeared himself to our family, who called on him whenever illness arose. He and I became fast friends, often joking together, usually with Nalini as our target. "It is a medical curiosity," my brother-in-law remarked to me one day. "I have tried everything on your lean sister: cod liver oil, butter, malt, honey, fish, meat, eggs, tonics. Still she fails to bulge even 1/100th of an inch." We both chuckled. A few days later, I visited the Bose home. My errand there took only a few minutes. I was leaving unnoticed. I thought by Nalini. As I reached the front door, I heard a voice, cordial but commanding. "Brother, come here. You are not going to give me the slip this time. I want to talk to you." I mounted the stairs to her room. To my surprise, she was in tears. "Dear brother," she said, "let us bury the old hatchet. I see that your feet are now firmly set on the spiritual path. I want to become like you in every way," she added hopefully. "You are now robust in appearance. Can you help me? My husband does not come near me, and I love him so dearly. But still more, I want to progress in God realization, even if I must remain thin and unattractive. My husband does not come near me, and I love him so dearly. But still more, I want to progress in God realization, even if I must remain thin and unattractive." My heart was deeply touched at her plea. Our new friendship steadily progressed. One day she asked to become my disciple. "Train me in any way you like. I put my trust in God instead of tonics." She gathered together an armful of medicines and poured them down the roof drain. As a test of her faith, I asked her to omit from her diet all fish, meat, and eggs. After several months during which Nalini has strictly followed the various rules I had outlined and had adhered to her vegetarian diet in spite of numerous difficulties, I paid her a visit. "Sis, you have been conscientiously observing the spiritual injunctions. Your reward is near." I smiled mischievously. "How plump do you want to be? As fat as your aunt, who hasn't seen her feet in years?" "No, but I long to be as stout as you are," I replied solemnly. "By the grace of God, as I have spoken truth always, I speak truth truly now. Through the divine blessings, your body shall verily change from today. In 1 month, it shall have the same weight as mine." So I'm going to stop there. I know it's a little abrupt, but I need to go now. So, Jai Guruji. And just before I leave, I want to say that my mother at some point was very, very sick, and she was extremely frail and feeble. And so what happened, Guruji said to me, "Ja apni manu mil ke aa." She was going through some kind of depressive also, in Manchester. She was going through some kind of depression, mild depression, but having said that, lost tremendous amounts of weight over the years. So Guruji said, "Hun de kya apni manu? Oh, thodi jini, hun moti hoyi hui hai." I said, "My mother and moti doesn't go hand in hand. She cannot be moti." But when I went, much to my surprise, Guruji had blessed her from a distance. She had never met Guruji at that point. And mom was actually stout. And I was shocked. I said, "Mama, you've gained weight." And she looked healthy and happy, joyful. She said, "Ha, pata nahi kis tarah hoya, but maine weight gain kar liya, so to speak." So I said, "Wow, this is Guruji." So from a distance and from not even meeting him, he can heal and do wonders to those we love. So even those who do not come to Guruji and they don't even believe in Guruji, they also get blessed through us, through our devotion and through our prayers. So thank you again for another wonderful session. And thank you for listening. And see you tomorrow. Ekta can take over now.
Thank you, Auntie. Sangatji, tomorrow we have a change in time. It will be from 8 p.m. in the night, 8 p.m. IST to 9 p.m. The reading will be that time. Anita Auntie is traveling tomorrow. So all the best. Safe travels, Auntie.
Thank you.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
flying back from Goa back to Delhi. So yeah.
Thank you, Sangatji, for joining in. Thank you, Auntie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Pranav.